Now, my good friend Randy Credico has been a pillar of the Julian Assange campaign throughout the last decade, and therefore I have many times crossed his path and he mine. I've interviewed him, he's interviewed me. Randy is a very interesting guy. Once upon a time, he was a comedian, a raconteur, a song and dance man. In Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, he was big on the entertainment scene. Then he experienced some kind of political epiphany and has been a tower of strength for progressive causes ever since. He's got a great show on the radio. I commend it to you. Many times featured Roger Waters, for example, and his shows with Roger Waters have been really landmark shows. And then up he pops on my Twitter feed in Red Square, Moscow. And then in Donetsk, which is where we've caught up with him in the former front line, now solidly a part of the Russian Federation after the referenda that were held in those parts of eastern Ukraine, which overwhelmingly voted to rejoin Mother Russia. Randy, I'll not ask exactly where you are. I wouldn't like to bring down any ordnance upon your head, but tell us about your Russian trip so far.
Thank you, George, and thank you for mentioning the show and Roger Waters. And of course, my last show with Roger was with you, the two of us, three of us together. I'm a little on edge, I must tell you, George. I've been in Moscow last week for 4 or 5 days, or 3 or 4 days, and then I've been in Donetsk, the People's Republic, for the last 4 days. Today I was in Mariupol. And so it's been a very difficult 4 days down here. I don't want to give you where I am. I'm always looking over my shoulders because over the last 5 days there have been bombings. There's been HIMARS being sent into this area by these. I don't know if they're regular forces, but they're definitely Ukrainian forces. Azov Battalion. I don't know. They've hit nothing but civilian targets. And their MO is to strike a civilian target, and then when the emergency services show up, then they strike again. So it's like 20 minutes apart. I've done a couple of videos from this open air market where a couple of women were killed. They destroyed it, but the next day they're back in action. Everybody's back in action, and you cannot believe the devastation that is foisted upon them. I'm not a hero, George. I am not a wartime correspondent. Like, you remember The Godfather when he said that Tom Hagen wasn't a wartime consigliere? Well, I'm not a wartime correspondent, but I've been foisted into this position right now. And I got to tell you, right now I'm looking over my shoulder, waiting for the fear that the people have to go through every single day. These are terrorist attacks by the Ukrainian. They should be reined in because there's no military objective hitting civilian targets here, and that's all they're doing is hitting civilian targets. So I'm like, I sleep 1 or 2 hours a day, and I'm in total fear. I am not a hero.
Tell us how you feel as an American. You say that these are HIMARS coming in. That means they were made in America. They were paid for by the American taxpayer. They've been given to the Kiev forces to rain down this destruction, which, by the way, didn't start a year ago, but which has been raining down on civilian targets in that part of Ukraine since 2014. Thousands, must be getting on now for 16 or 17,000 people have been killed since 2014 by these kind of bombardments. How does that make you feel as an American?
Well, no better than you feel as a UK citizen, that they're going to be sending depleted uranium to this area to bombard this region. I feel horrible. I'm embarrassed. I tell people I didn't support this. Nobody support. This is a rogue operation by the U.S. government supporting this regime with these kind of deadly. They should be outlawed. Maybe they are outlawed by Geneva Convention, using this on civilian populations. But that's all that's being hit right now is civilian populations. How do I feel? I got to tell you, I was down in Mariupol today, and I've been crying all day, George. I may break down Val. Uh, uh, Talking to some of the people. This woman, Valerie, who was 19 years old, a lot of her friends were killed by the shelling there on the Azov toll, whatever it's called, Azov battalions over the last, way back in March and April last year. Just the entire area looks like Dresden in 1945. You got to see what I've got on footage. I will send that out in the next couple of days. But as I was leaving, I sat down with this woman, 19 years old. She loves America. She was so sweet to me, but she's lost a lot of her friends in the process. And it's like I've been breaking down all day thinking that my country is responsible for this. How am I supposed to feel? I feel horrible that this woman was so sweet to me. She made me a wonderful pizza, and she said, I can't really talk about my friends who have been killed here. You take a look at the schools, the hospitals, the drama theater there, all destroyed by these Azov battalions with NATO advisors there on top of this. It's called Azov Toll, and it's a huge multiplex steel mill. And from there, they were shelling. How are they supposed to get the hearts and minds of people in Mariupol when they're shelling them with these big guns and then with tanks? You see the tank shells going through these little houses and schoolhouses. It's devastating as an American to see this. And of course, I'm an Italian American, and I cry a lot. But today was what is it? Good Sunday. It's a religious holiday here, and for me, it's Easter. But it's really something that it's difficult for to me to absorb and to see all the devastation here. But the resolve, they're not giving up. I want you to know one thing. What's wonderful about this, they are not giving up. They don't want to go back to where they were before with the Ukrainian leadership. They are part of the DPR. The people in Mariupol and in Donetsk, they are going to be there until the last person, because they've endured this shelling and mistreatment and violence since, as you said, early spring of 2014. So I don't see them ever going back to the old status quo.
Well, you've conveyed it very powerfully. It is the time of resurrections, and you were in Mariupol earlier, and you've seen the beginning of the resurrection of that town. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's really amazing, because when you see the footage that I have today, all of these, like I said, it looks like Dresden in 45, but the intensity of the bombing is only matched by the intensity of the will to rebuild the city. There were, I saw 10 or 12 new buildings, apartment buildings for civilians. This used to have 200,000 civilians living here. It's down to about 40,000 right now. And you see truckloads by the thousands coming in, rebuilding this city. You have Central Asians who got good paying jobs, who are craftsmen at building apartments, working day in and day out on Monday through Sunday. And so it's just incredible the amount of rebuilding that has been done in Mariupol. And so it's this, like you said, it's the resurrection. It's the phoenix. It's coming out of the ashes that the Azov battalion and other rogue elements coming out of Kiev have wrought upon this area.
Well, stay safe because we need your voice back in the United States, and we'll definitely talk to you again when you've had time to give some perspective to the trip and the experience that you have been on. God bless you on this Easter Sunday. Randy Credico, who is in,
Here.
in Donetsk.